What is up, Renaissance crew? I'm the original Renaissance man, Devon DaVinci, and you're watching DaVinci Reacts. Now, normally whenever I try to watch videos on my channel, I try to pick videos that, besides the comedy videos and the try not to laugh videos, I try to pick videos that would give people a new experience, probably look at something from a different perspective, and possibly even learn something. So, I'm sure everybody has that moment where they were alive when a really big event happened throughout history, and you kind of remember where you were. And this video is related to that. It takes place, it takes events that happened throughout the last 60 years, the biggest news stories, and it pretty much just shows what was going on at that time. It's related to TV, so you only see what's happening from a television perspective, but I think everybody kind of remembers what they were watching also, like when some news story flashed or broke through and it kind of interrupted the TV programming and showed you guys, hey, this is going on right now, and you're like, oh shit, this is crazy. But this is a video dedicated to those moments. It is missing a few. I saw a list on the description that it was missing a couple of them that seemed like they were really big at the time. And also, I did have to check because the beginning of the video didn't have any sound. I thought maybe it was a problem with the editing because my computer has sound going through it, but the first part of the video has no sound. So just once we get past that, you're okay. Let's go ahead and check this out. I'm not really sure why exactly this part doesn't have sound, because I've seen this clip and it definitely has.
And I gave it a
sound.
great deal of thought, Grandpa.
Here is a bulletin from CBS News.
So a CBS News
in Dallas,
bulletin
Texas,
broke in
3
between,
shots were fired at President Kennedy's motorcade in downtown Dallas. The first reports say that President Kennedy has been seriously wounded by this shooting.
What happened with the president. I watched the entire, I think it was like 5-hour stretch where the news first broke that something happened to the president, all the way until they confirmed that he passed away.
President Kennedy died at 1 p.m.
They kept on coming
Central
in and out
Time.
of the news broadcast to let you guys know
Eastern
what
Standard
happened.
Time.
I think this right here is him
38
confirming
minutes
that
ago.
President Kennedy had died. But when it first broke, it just said that President Kennedy was
the hospital.
I believe they said targeted an attack. They didn't know exactly what happened. And then his news broke. Was like, okay, well, he was actually hit in the attack, and he's in serious condition. And at that then they confirmed the death.
Of the United States.
I think it wasn't until
NBC News presents Viet Cong Terror.
I think it wasn't until the 70s when they finally showed how he died.
Now here is NBC News correspondent Frank McGee.
Zapruder film.
The new communist campaign in Vietnam continues. Just after midnight their time, a band of Viet Cong raiders blew up a power installation and attacked 2 police stations in Saigon. Other small bands still roam the city. The Viet Cong are reported to be in complete control of a militant Buddhist headquarters less than a mile from the center of town.
Militant
Direct
Buddhist.
from our newsroom
I never
in
thought
Washington,
I would hear those,
in color,
those
this
words
is
in
the
that sentence
CBS
like that.
Evening News with Walter Cronkite and Russ Hodge in Memphis, Tennessee, Dan Rather in New York, Bernard Kalb in Saigon, Marvin Kalb in Wellington, New Zealand, and Bert Quint in Quezon, Son, South Vietnam.
We need more newsmen like Walter Cronkite.
Good evening. Dr. Martin Luther King, the apostle of nonviolence in the civil rights movement, has been shot to death in Memphis, Tennessee. Police have issued an all-points bulletin for a well-dressed young white man seen running from the scene. Officers also reportedly chased and fired on a radio-equipped car containing 2 white men.
It's a little shadowy, but he said he expected that in the shadow of the lunar module. Armstrong is on the moon. Neil Armstrong, 38-year-old American, standing on the surface of the moon on this July 20th, 1969.
It's one small step for man, one giant leap for mankind.
I think that he made an error when he said that.
I think that was Neil's quote. I didn't understand it.
No, one small step for man, but I didn't get the second phrase. One of our monitors here at our space headquarters is able to hear that. We'd like to know what it was.
Surface is fine and powdery. I can pick it up loosely with my toe.
From CBS News headquarters in New York, this is the CBS Evening News with Walter Cronkite and Eric Severide in New York, George Herman in Washington, Leslie Stahl in Washington, Fred P. Graham in Atlanta, Peter Kalischer in Paris, Tom Fenton in Paris, Robert Shackney in Des Moines. And tonight, a CBS Evening News special report, the energy crisis.
Good evening. In a landmark ruling, the Supreme Court today legalized abortions. The majority in cases from Texas and Georgia said that the decision to end a pregnancy during the first 3 months belongs to the woman and her doctor, not the government. Thus, the anti-abortion laws of 46 states were rendered unconstitutional. Good evening. President Nixon reportedly will announce his resignation tonight, and Vice President Ford will become the nation's 38th president tomorrow. That word comes unofficially from aides and associates of both men, but not from the two men themselves. In the swiftly moving events.
Headline, South Vietnam surrenders and the communists occupy Saigon. We have dramatic film of the evacuation of Americans and Vietnamese from Saigon. A former South Vietnamese official tells of secret U.S.-South Vietnamese agreements. Secretary of State Henry Kissinger says he will ask Congress for funds to care for as many as 70,000 Vietnamese refugees. And tonight's comment on the future of Indochina. Harry?
The Viet Cong flag is flying over the presidential palace in Saigon today, just a few hours after the South Vietnamese government announced its unconditional surrender. The Provisionary Revolutionary Government gave Saigon a new name, Ho Chi Minh City. The PRG says it will follow a policy of peace and non-alignment in its foreign policy. And it says a general amnesty will soon be decreed. But it has said little else in the brief period since the surrender. We now have films of the emergency evacuation effort from Saigon, which took place just before the surrender.
This is a famous
Evan Delaney report.
Video clip. Oh, they didn't show it. Damn it.
Elvis Presley died today. He was 42. Apparently it was a heart attack. He was found at his home in Memphis, not breathing. His road manager tried to revive him. He failed. A hospital tried to revive him. It failed. His doctor pronounced him dead at 3 o'clock this afternoon.
Videotape of an incident that took place less than 15 minutes ago at the Washington Hilton Hotel when shots were fired at President Reagan. Here you see the president coming out now. You just have to watch. I don't know whether we can hear this or not. There it is. Shots. God. These are the agents immediately diving.
You heard that agent? He's like, you motherfucker.
People down on the...
I don't mean to laugh. I know it's
on the ground. We understand one Secret Service agent, one, it may be another Washington policeman who was injured. I can't hear the sound on this. Can't hear the sound. We understand also that James Brady, the White House press secretary, was among those injured. The president had just come out of the entrance. Yes, there is. That looks like Jim Brady.
Michael Deaver just came
for political affairs. Lynn Nofziger told reporters at the hospital that the president was not wounded. He was wounded. My God. He was, the president was hit. He is in stable condition. All this information.
A terrible quiet fell on the thousands who were gathered at St. Peter's Square at the Vatican today. A shocked quiet. 10,000 or more had come to receive the blessing of Pope John Paul. Instead, amongst the cheering and the peal of bells announcing the arrival of the Pope, they heard gunfire and saw the Pope turn pale and collapse, bloody, into the arms of his aides. Pope John Paul II had been shot. A Turkish terrorist who had threatened to kill the Pope 2 years ago is being held tonight by Italian police, the main suspect in the shooting.
There has been a nuclear accident in the Soviet Union, and the Soviets have admitted that it happened. The Soviet version is this. One of the atomic reactors at the Chernobyl atomic power plant near the city of Kiev was damaged, and there is speculation in Moscow that people were injured and may have died. The Soviets may have been fairly quick to acknowledge the accident because evidence in the form of mild nuclear radiation had already reached beyond the Soviet borders to Scandinavia. We begin with ABC's Dean Reynolds.
The Soviets covered up this that incident for a long time.
This is World News Tonight with Peter Jennings.
And nobody really knew just how bad the damage was until years later.
From the Berlin Wall specifically, take a look at them. They've been there since last night. They are here in the thousands. They are here in the tens of thousands. Occasionally they shout, Die Mauer muss weg, the wall must go. Thousands and thousands of West Germans come to make the point that the wall has suddenly become irrelevant. Something, as you can see, almost a party on. How do you measure such an astonishing moment in history? The East German government said tonight they were going to make more openings in the wall, at least a dozen more. Put bulldozers right through the wall so that more people could cross to the west.
I'm going to go ahead and talk through this a little bit.
Because the war will be a devastating one.
I can't pause it. My video can't record longer than 30 minutes.
As that reality sunk in, the airport was jammed with foreigners anxious to leave. Both scheduled flights to Amman, Jordan,
the Berlin Wall.
We're going to dump out of that piece by Gary Shepard at the moment and go back to him live on the telephone, for he has an up-to-date report. Gary.
Peter, I am looking directly west from our hotel now, and throughout the entire sky there are flashes of light. It appears to be some sort of anti-aircraft fire.
But the Berlin Wall
a couple of flashes on the horizon now. Something is
like one of the last
underway here.
carryovers from World War II.
Something is going on. The whole sky.
I mean, I know it's a little bit after World War II, but that was still very much related to World War II
continually.
because of the Soviet's occupation of the countries.
Is it far in the distance, Gary?
They pretty much went through to get to Germany.
And now we can see an entire.
The split of Germany and things like that.
Obvious tracers in the sky, planes now coming toward this hotel.
Mikhail Gorbachev's dreams of holding the Soviet Union together may have received a death blow today. The Union's 3 Slavic republics announced they are forming a separate Commonwealth of Independent States. Russia, the Ukraine, and Belarus control much of the Soviet Union's economic power, enough to challenge the rapidly fading strength of Gorbachev's central government. Details from Moscow correspondent John Donovan.
The chief state TV channel was halfway through its evening news when it got the first details of the agreement signed in Minsk. Quoting from it, the anchorwoman announced, "The Soviet Union, as a subject of international and geopolitical reality, no longer exists."
This is a CBS News special
Y'all can thank
report.
Rocky for that.
Terror in the heartland. From Oklahoma City, here is Connie Chung.
Good evening. It was the deadliest terror attack aimed right at the heart of America.
That's the first time I've ever heard somebody actually address the
today
anchor.
all
Like, hey,
but
you can go now.
demolished a U.S. government building in downtown Oklahoma City. There were hundreds of people inside. At least 20 people are known dead, 17 of them children. There was a daycare center inside. Hundreds more were injured. At this hour, rescue workers are desperately trying to save any remaining lives. You can see the facade of the building is all down. The rescue workers are working at their own risk. But there is one thing that is certain. This is the deadliest terror attack on U.S. soil ever.
All right, Mrs. Robertson.
I don't know why. I feel like I remember this, even though I don't think I should, because I was probably like 6 years old.
Mrs. Robertson.
Superior Court of California, County of Los Angeles. In the matter of the people of the state of California versus Orenthal James Simpson, case number BA-097.
Now they pronounce his name wrong. That's the thing I remember the most about
jury
this.
in the above entitled action find the defendant Orenthal James Simpson not guilty of the crime of murder in violation of Penal Code Section 187A.
I like to make a video about the verdict of OJ and why black people supported it and the exact reason why.
Complications from several bullet wounds sustained Saturday night, September 7th. He was 25 years old. Shakur was shot 4 times after leaving the Mike Tyson boxing match in Las Vegas in a car driven by Marion Suge Knight, the head of his label, Death Row Records. The shots were fired from a Cadillac that drove up alongside Knight's BMW, but police still have no leads on a suspect or motive. Tupac had been on a respirator in the hospital and had 1 lung removed.
Diana, Princess of Wales, has been seriously injured in a car accident in Paris. Her companion, the Harrods heir Dodi Al-Fayed, has been killed. The driver of the princess's car is also understood to be dead. The accident happened at just after midnight in the west of the city near the Alma Bridge.
The sad news here at Sky Centre, confirmation from our very own Foreign Secretary Robin Cook, who's in the Far East at the moment, that Diana, Princess of Wales, has in fact been killed in that car accident.
HRH responds, the man will open the door using the hand with the Kleenex. I mean...
Right, as opposed to the dirty hand. I mean, hello, Howard, you know. The man was a bit compulsive, let's face it, but on the other hand, he was absolutely the most amazing man that America has ever created, ever.
Okay, I have got to interrupt you right now.
Sorry.
Richard Hack, thank you very much. We appreciate the book is called Hughes. We want to go live right now and show you a picture of the World Trade Center, where I understand... Do we have it? No, we do not. We have a breaking story, though. We're going to come back with that in just a moment. First, this is Today on NBC.
I definitely remember the World Trade Center. I was in school, and they brought in TVs into the classrooms, and they were showing
As Matt just mentioned, we have a breaking news story to tell you about. Apparently, a plane has just crashed into the World Trade Center here in New York City. It happened just a few moments ago, apparently. We have very little information available at this point in time. But on the phone, we do have Jennifer Oberstein, who apparently witnessed this event. Jennifer, can you hear me?
Hello?
Hi, Jennifer.
Hi, Katie.
Hi, can you please tell me what you saw and give me any information about what's going on there?
Yes, I have to tell you, it's quite terrifying. I'm in shock right now. I came out of the subway at Bowling Green. I was heading to work in Battery Park at the Ritz-Carlton Hotel, and I come out, and I heard a boom, looked up, and there was a big ball of fire. I'm now looking north at the World Trade Center, and it is the left twin tower if I'm looking north. I'm in Battery Park right now, and you can hear the fire engines and the emergency crews behind me, and it is unbelievable. When the fire first burst, it was a... Hello?
Go ahead. We can hear you.
In air like I've never seen before.
Out on at least 4 or 5 floors. The air is filled with hundreds of thousands of pieces of paper that are just sort of floating like confetti. The area is swarmed with emergency vehicles and sirens. Obviously, we're very sensitive to this kind of thing in this neighborhood.
Elliot, have you, of course, because of the incident that occurred in the early 1990s, have you seen any evidence, Elliot, of people being taken out of the building? You say that emergency vehicles are there, understandably so, but of course the major concern is human loss. I mean, do you know if there were many people in the building?
Oh, another one just hit. Something else just hit. A very large plane just flew directly over my building, and there's been another collision. Can you see it? I can see it on the shot.
Oh my!
Something else has
You know what? We just saw a plane circling the building. We just saw a plane circling the building a second ago on the shot right before that.
I think there may have been another impact. Can you tell? I just heard another very loud bang and a very large plane that might have been a DC-9
you can feel it, like your heart kind of starts pounding watching this again. It's like...
hallway and see what it is exactly that happened here just a few moments ago.
Mick, see what you can find out. Please be careful and let us know what's going on there. Meanwhile, we're going to go back to David Gregory, who is in Longboat Key, Florida, where President Bush was earlier this morning for an event on literacy. He was going to a school to talk with kids. David, what can you tell us?
A little bit more about how all of this unfolded and what the president is going to do next. The president declared this an apparent terrorist act. He offered a prayer for the families, promised to hunt down, in his words, the people responsible for this. He will now travel back to Washington, and aides are telling us now that he will immediately convene a national security meeting to see what steps are taken next.
David, I'm sorry to interrupt you, but we're looking at live pictures of the Pentagon where there is billowing smoke. Jim Miklashevsky just reported that he heard an explosion.
As well as a result of these terrorist
And that's
attacks.
a very haunting description that Bob Kerr just gave of that low-flying aircraft near the White House, and one can only wonder if that was something that ultimately ended up in the Pentagon.
We just saw a live picture of what seemed to be a portion of the building falling away from the World Trade Center. If we can re-rack that to about 20 seconds ago, you'll see something dramatic happening And I don't know whether it's another explosion or a
I remember
portion
when
of
I
the
was
building
watching this, I was thinking
falling
it would
away,
be
but
crazy if them things just
New York
fell.
City, the second
And that's
World
exactly what
Trade
the fuck
Center
happened.
tower has just collapsed in New York. We're looking at a live picture there. The first one collapsed about an hour ago now, and now the second apparently has done the same.
Well, this is not only devastating damage, it is devastating to look at this, but yes, the second tower has now collapsed.
Tonight's scheduled episode of Something in the Air has been moved to tomorrow night so that we can bring you an ABC News and Current Affairs special.
The first strike against terrorism as a missile barrage lands on Afghanistan.
We will not falter, and we will not fail. Peace and freedom will prevail.
The Taliban claims Osama bin Laden was unhurt in the raids, and the world waits for the next move.
Coming up here, as far as we can see at the moment, the city does not appear to be under attack. But the
I think the date is obviously wrong. This happened before, or the date has this happening before 9/11. I believe it was in 2003. I could be wrong. I think 2003 when we invaded Iraq.
Air defenses are on a hair trigger here, if you will, at this time. Obviously, once the 48-hour deadline that President Bush put into place for President Saddam Hussein to leave the country, the forces here certainly knew they had to be on a defensive standby. I can hear more anti-aircraft gunfire erupting across the city at this time. I don't see any trace of fire. I see trace of fire flying through the air past this hotel. Yeah, now heavy bursts of anti-aircraft gunfire coming up from the cities, coming up from across.
I mean, obviously the Iraq war was a horrible idea. I think the whole idea of a war on terror is kind of a bad idea too. It's kind of like the war on drugs. Like, you don't really have a target. You're just, it kind of gives you free reign to do whatever the hell you want in like areas where Muslim terrorism was happening.
Good evening. More than 11,000 people are now thought to have been killed in southern Asia after an undersea earthquake sent enormous waves rolling across the Indian Ocean. The quake measured 8.9 on the Richter scale, the biggest in the world for 40 years. Waves up to 10 meters high engulfed the coasts of many countries. The quake's epicenter was off the island of Sumatra in northwestern Indonesia, where more than 4,000 people are thought to have died. In Sri Lanka, officials say more than 3,000 people have been killed and more than 1 million affected. In southern India, 3,000 people, mostly fishermen, are reported dead. At least 300 have been killed in southern Thailand, including some tourists, and hundreds of people are missing. And waves swamped the low-lying Maldive Islands, leaving the capital Male 2/3 underwater. Gareth Furby reports.
This is an NBC News special report. Here is Brian Williams.
And good day. At 2:56 p.m. here in New York, East Coast time, NBC News has confirmed and is adding to the reports of other news agencies at this hour that an incredible journey, an extraordinary life, has apparently come to an end. We are reporting the death of Pope John Paul II at the Vatican. He was 84 years old.
Breaking news we're getting from the PA Newswire that there's been reports of an explosion outside Liverpool Street Station. That, of course, in the East End of London. It's the bordering area. You'll be maybe familiar with the Swiss building known as the Gherkin, which, of course, has been a familiar landmark throughout London for the past sort of couple of years or so. That's very close to Liverpool Street Station. They're getting this reports of an explosion from the British Transport Police.
Yeah, we'll be able to see what's going on and make perhaps a major projection at that point. This is a moment that a lot of people have been waiting for. This is a moment that potentially could be rather historic.
I was very happy when Obama won. Not necessarily because of politics or not, but the idea that a black person could become president of this country.
Barack Obama, 47
to go
years
from
old,
slavery
will become the president-elect
like that,
of the United
that
States.
was
We
a
project
moment for
he now has
African-Americans,
enough
or
electoral
black
votes,
people.
more than 270, more than enough to become the 44th president of the United States.
Black people, we're not from Africa. No disrespect to any African viewers, but we're not from Africa. Our history is directly from America.
Ground where a lot of people are standing because it's generally
that was the
safer
main
after a
reason
large
why.
earthquake to stay underground if you're already underground. They're just kind of waiting it out to see what's going to happen
something
next.
that was
We haven't
just seemed
heard an
impossible,
announcement
and it's like, oh my God, is it about to happen? Is
that
this
you
for
should
real?
get out. So people are just waiting here and just trying to get through their family and friends.
Indeed, and as you mentioned, people in Japan, of course, very used to these sorts of earthquakes. I do want to just take this opportunity to welcome our viewers across the United States. They have joined us, along with our global audience, as we take you through this breaking news. A 7.9 earthquake in Japan, a powerful quake. And we know at this point that a tsunami warning has been issued.
Earthquake, almost a great earthquake here with a 24-kilometer epicenter here as far as the depth. That has generated a tsunami. I don't have the wave heights here, but there's, I would be shocked and surprised if this thing had not generated. Well, take a look at the pictures there, Rosemary. Again, you're watching it there coming in. That is...
unbelievable. Look at that.
That is arriving on the coast. Wow. As you're watching these dramatic pictures there from Japan, the earthquake occurring about 150 kilometers east of Sendai, I do want to mention that Japan is not the only place that is being affected here, but my goodness, it is now taking the brunt of it there. Rosemary, that is unbelievable.
Game, Geraldo, and these are the things that you're bringing up that I think are very important questions.
Okay, we have White House correspondent Mike Emanuel live now. Mike, thanks. I know you got drafted on very short notice. What do you know about what we are about to hear from the President of the United States, Mike?
Not a lot at this point, Geraldo. We understand it's a foreign policy-related matter. Of course, there's great speculation it may have something.
Senior Capitol Hill producer Chad Pergram confirms Osama bin Laden is dead. Senior Capitol Hill producer Chad Pergram confirms Osama bin Laden is dead. Can it be, ladies and gentlemen? Could it be?
You know what you're being prescribed.
Karen Kelly, thank you very much. We wanted to spend more time with you, but again, we do have some breaking news here on CNN. Thank you.
Thank you.
This is CNN Breaking News.
This was soul crushing.
It's just coming across the wires here, reading straight from it. Connecticut State Police responding to reports of a shooting.
And I know I don't normally say controversial shit, even though to me this isn't controversial. To some people it's controversial, and if you see it as controversial, then I don't need you on this channel. I'm just saying. But anybody that thinks that this is a false flag operation or anything like that, like somebody that thinks that that the whole Sandy Hook thing was fake, and especially the people that call the parents and give them death threats and nag them and shit like that, man, I'm just gonna say it one time, fuck you. Like, just unsubscribe from my channel if you're like that. I mean, it's one thing to have an opinion like, oh wow, it seems kind of crazy, like there's a lot of things. Okay, fine, you can have a discussion about that. But if you're one of them people that think like, oh no, it was a false flag and I know it, and the parents were in on it and the kids were actors and this, that, and the other bullshit, like, get off my channel. Just unsubscribe right now. I do not give a fuck. I can take the blow. I don't care. Just get off my fucking channel. I hate those people. I fucking hate them. I'm not gonna lie, I hate them because, like I said, I've been in situations where I've lost family members like that, and to think that somebody would just call you up and just start giving you death threats and shit about some shit that they don't even know about. Like, you or your kids weren't in that situation. My kids were. I lost my damn kids, and now you sitting here going to call me and threaten me because of some political bullshit. Okay, fine. I'm just going to get off. I got to hurry up and end it. It's only got a minute left. That's been this video. I'm the original Renaissance man, Devon DaVinci. I'm signing out. Deuces.